So continuing on, I didn't take a lot of photos on day 6. It was pouring rain most of the day, mid 50s, which was like 13, 14 degrees Celsius. At one point, I stopped at a small town lumber store and bought some of these gallon-sized Ziploc baggies. So my socks were already soaked, so I just slipped them over my socks and then stuffed my foot back in the shoe and then pulled my rain pants over the Ziploc bag. And then warmed my feet up quite a bit. This was at a small diner, and the rain probably stopped like an hour later, but this was amazing. Um, like fine dining, probably not, but I will always fondly remember that bowl of chili just because I was cold and wanted something warm, and it was perfect. These bags over here, I think I was using over my gloves, so I would just stick my gloves in the bags and then grab the handlebar, and that kept my hands warmer. As I approached Syracuse, you start to see more of these weird dual locks, so I'm assuming there was more traffic. And then I stayed at the Best Western by the New York State Fairgrounds. And this is how I did laundry there. I just threw everything in the tub. Um, First time I just took a shower, sort of stomped around on the clothes, drained the water, added clean water, put some detergent, and then drained and then rinsed again. Um, so Um, and then to dry, they gave you a bunch of extra towels, so I just laid my clothes on the towel like this, and then rolled it up like a jelly roll, and then just stomped on it, like just sort of inched back and forth, side to side. So that was day 6, probably the coldest, rainiest day. Thankfully, a lot of it was on the highway that day. So if I had to have rain, that was a good day for it because I would have cooked under the sun. There would have been a lot of sun exposure. The next day, continuing on through Syracuse, I tried this panorama shot of Onondaga Lake. I don't know, looked a little weird. In the distance here, that's Carousel Mall, or I think they call it Discovery something Mall now. I don't know. A little macro shot. The flowers are in bloom. New building being built. I was really impressed with the paths going through a lot of Syracuse. It almost seemed like a college campus. Very pretty, as you can see. Um, Most of the time, if you were on the street like this, they just on the wide sidewalk they kind of turned it into two-way bike lanes. This building over here was a little interesting. It's like a two-story version of the Flatiron, just one of those weird shaped, narrow, in the middle of a triangle building. Um, and then I don't know what these are, but they were interesting to me. Just the old style buildings. And then this is how the bike trail looked throughout Erie Boulevard. It just sort of wound its way through the median between, you'd have one-way traffic going, one way on this road and then on the other, and then you'd got to look for cars coming in between. But, and a lot of times I had a special light for the bike lane itself, and the timing was really good on that. I didn't have to stop very much. But I met my family for lunch this day at Five Guys, and this is me being a dork. Dad took a photo of me, so as we see Five Guys in the background. Very happy, all filled up on burger and fries. So I took off, and as you can see, the towel trick mostly worked, but my socks were a little damp still, so I just, you know, clipped them to the front of my tent bag, and they were nice and dry by the time I stopped at the end of the day. Um, and also, I think what was going on here, because I've lost more weight than this photo shows, but I was drinking too much Gatorade, so it was like just retaining water. So be careful about that. The paths east of Syracuse it was a Sunday, it was sunny, it wasn't too hot, so tons of people are out walking. But it was really nice through there. So I think once you start getting, if you were going from Albany to Buffalo, once you get near Syracuse, I think that's when it starts to get really scenic. Um, but yeah, just on my way to Rome, I stopped in Canastota. There's a barbecue place in town. I should have snapped a photo, but they just gave it to me in a styrofoam thing, probably because you know, they're probably hoping I'd leave because I probably look pretty dirty. Um, but that was amazing barbecue. I mean, North Country style. It's not proper anybody from Tennessee, North Carolina, wherever that has proper barbecue, they would not approve. But it was good. Um, Along the path, I saw these trucks. I like the old flatbed there. A little parade. A couple more photos. I think that one in the center there, if I get a closer photo, yeah, it's a fire department vehicle, whatever. I don't know what it was for with a fire department, but cute. And then I finally made it to Lock 29, and I actually brought, it's what they call a square cut Speedo, so it's not a banana hammock. It's a very modest Speedo, but I wanted something small, so I'd put the towel around my waist, slide the Speedo on, and then this is just a folding Sea Summit bucket. Um, and they didn't have drinkable water. They had non-potable water, but it was clean for bathing purposes. So I filled the bucket with that and then walked back over to my camping area and just did like a sponge, well, a rag shower. And then this is just me laying my stuff out, making sure everything was dry. I had noticed my tent wasn't quite dry, but thankfully there was a nice breeze and the sun dried it out pretty quick. So I got a good night's rest. I tried to put my stakes in over here near the picnic table, but the ground was so hard, so I ended up kind of more over in this area. That's more over by the trees. So that's where I put the stake down instead of by the table. And you can barely maybe see these posts over here. They had a place where you lock the bike, so I locked my bike to one of those. But it was a really nice setup. I think probably my best night's sleep was at New London, Lock 21, just west of Rome. I mean, it didn't take long to get to Rome the next day, like a half hour maybe. Um, but yeah, definitely my best night's sleep.